Good afternoon and welcome to a new video. I'm in the shed today and I'm going to be dealing with a job that I've been putting off for quite some time, which is sorting these out. I am not a trimmer. I've never actually retrimmed a set of Defender seats in my life, so this will be pretty interesting. These are what I got with the 110, so black vinyl, which is what I'm going to be putting back on them. This has obviously been eaten by something. The backs aren't as bad, but you're not going to retrim a base and not a back. So yeah, we've got full Britpart vinyl retrim kits, which you can see up there. Going to strip these down and have a go, because what have we got to lose? Half the battle with things like you haven't done before is having the wherewithal to just have a go at it. So that's what I keep telling myself anyway. Let's crack on, see how we do. So because it looks less daunting, I'm going to start with the base. From my understanding, from things I've read and guides I've seen already, the front edge is held down with this filler strip, which clamps it to the base of the actual seat base, and on the other side you've got two tangs here which lift up, and then a rod slides out, and that's what secures it at the back. And then it's sort of stuck down to the foam. Obviously this foam is completely gone, so we're going to replace that as well. Let's have a go. Strip this base down and see what sort of a job it is. So first up, as you can see, I've got myself a flathead screwdriver and I'm just easing up the two metal tangs that secure the back edge of the seat cover. This has a metal rod that passes through and it is secured to the base by those two metal tangs. It's a little bit fiddly and you need to take a bit of care to make sure that you don't break them off. Otherwise, the seat base is pretty much redundant. Bit of fiddling, get them up, and then the rod can either slide out or you can unhook it. Next up, grab yourself a trim tool because it's time to remove these little plastic pegs from the side of the seat base. The new kit does come with replacements, but I chose to keep these ones nice and safe just in case I lost any. They can be reused, there's no reason why not. So remove them and place them to the side. Now it's time to pull out that big thick rubber bead that runs around the outside of the base. This is what locks the bottom of the vinyl into the seat base itself. Again, the kit comes with a replacement and it must be fitted the right way round, which we will show you later. But for now, lever up the end with a screwdriver or a trim tool and then peel that beading out, which will release the base of the seat cover where it tucks into the channel. From there, just get hold of the edge of the seat base and untuck it all the way around, and the seat cover should be ready to remove. Now, needless to say, the old seat foam will have released a lot of dust and dirt and bits and pieces that will be floating around. So take a few minutes with the vacuum cleaner and just get the worst of those old bits of dust and foam, things like that, off the old seat base. And tidy your workspace up as well. But the less of this stuff you can get in your lungs, the better. As we're going to be using contact adhesive to fit the foam and the cover, we need to make sure everything is nice and degreased. So quick spray of brake cleaner and a wipe over with a piece of cloth. Make sure any old glue is removed. So we've got the base all nice and clean. Degrease the surface that the glue is going to go on. Before we go any further, I thought it would be an idea to show you what you get in the Britpart retrim kit. So first thing you get actually is a can of contact adhesive, which I've already used for something else, but still loads left, so we can use that. In the box you get headrest cover. New headrest cover, good stuff. Piece of foam. I'm not sure if that's actually to do with the seat or if that's just packaging. I'm sure we'll find out. 4 new trim pins. Some instructions, which, well, a link to some instructions, but we're going to learn together. A new piece of beading, that's good. the bit that we removed almost at the start. You get a new one of them. That is the new base cover, so that's what we're going to be working with next. As you can see, I've gone for black vinyl, which is what would have been in the 110 originally. I'm sure I'll regret that when I jump in it on a hot day, but there we go. New seat back cover. This is inside out, as you can hopefully tell, but again, nice black vinyl. All the Britpart stuff's actually made on site. It's made in their own trim shop, so if you've got any queries or any issues, they'll no doubt be happy to help you out. Hopefully it won't come to that, of course. So, moving on. This is our new base foam, which looks, as I'm sure you'll agree, about 100 times better than the one we took off, because it hasn't been chewed by dogs, mice and horses. And finally, the new back foam. Again, nicely moulded. Stick that to the frame when the time comes. But for now, let's continue on with the seat base. This contact adhesive that's included is really good stuff. If you've never used contact adhesive before, it's pretty simple. It just means you coat both items that you want to stick together with the contact adhesive, wait till it goes tacky, and then you introduce them and push down. This basically bonds the two layers of glue to each other, and it's a really, really strong fix. So make sure you get the glue everywhere you need it, and ideally don't get it where you don't want it, because it's a pain to clean off afterwards. Once that glue's tacked off, we can offer up the new seat foam to the base. It's important to make sure that the edges of the seat foam go right into the corners of the base, otherwise it will sit all uneven. So start at the back and then carefully work your way around and make sure all those edges are nice and neat, because this will have a big bearing on the final product of the seat when it's all trimmed. Okay, so now we can offer up the new cover to the seat base. The easiest way of lining this up accurately is to get the seams where the cover is stitched together and locate them into the ridges in the seat base foam. This means it should sit nice and central when you glue it down. Once you're happy with the location, fold up either side, spray contact adhesive on the foam and the inside of the cover, and then push down before repeating on the other side. Okay, so with the centre of the seat base cover glued to the foam, we can now lip over the bolster covers, either side. So you're basically turning it inside out, but backwards. Take your time, try to reduce the number of wrinkles you get in the vinyl. And yeah, it's a bit of a fiddle, but it's kind of indicative of, it's a sign of things to come, if you like, because a lot of this job is manipulating the fabric cover to look as good as it possibly can whilst on top of foam, and it's a little bit of a fiddle, but persevere and you'll get there. Okay, next up, this is the bit that hurts your hands. You need to get hold of the edge of the seat cover and pull it down to compress the foam and locate the bottom piece into the channel in the metal seat base, because then what you need to do is get the new rubber bead, making sure the narrow part faces down, and then use that to lock the cover into place all the way around into that channel. Alright, so I'm putting this bead in to hold the vinyl to the base. It's hard going if you've not done it before. It will ache your hands, but what I've learned is sort of back this back on itself so you can see what you're doing, and then really pull this down, squash that foam, pull the beading of the cover into this channel, and then either push this strip down with your fingers or give it a little tap to get it located. It's probably taken me 10 minutes to work around this far. I did resort to the Britpart instructions on the bit of paper. the guy who does it must be a magician, because he just does it without any tools in about 30 seconds. But yeah, it's pretty pretty tough going if you're not used to it, but persevere. See how it locks it in? That's what we're aiming for, all the way around. Last bit in, nice and tight, all the way around, nice and smooth finish. Right, so now we've got this beading seated all the way around. I lied, by the way, the guy in the Britpart video does use a hammer, but not nearly as much as I did. So next up, make sure it's nice and straight. Do a bit of manipulation if needed of the foam, and then what we need to do is get those little trim pins and put them back. There's one there and one there, and to do that we need to get a sharp pick or something, pull this down, poke a hole, tap the pin in. What I've actually found in doing this beading is that as I've stretched and pulled the vinyl over the cover, over the foam, sorry, I've been left with quite a bit of loose, like excess vinyl here. So I'm just going to sort of do my best to make it look right before I put that trim pin in. If you look at it straight on, actually, I don't think, despite my best efforts, it's dead straight anymore. I think it's pulled over that way. So just something to be aware of. I'm not going to take this apart and redo it. I'll just be a bit more careful on the next one. But yeah, so you can actually squish the foam out of shape and pull the vinyl across if you're not careful. So bear that in mind. But now I'm just going to bring this up, pull it down, and then I need to get a pick, make a little hole, tap the trim pin in. Try and do it without creasing the fabric too much. It's a bit of a challenge, to be honest. It's not easy. Little hole there. Get our trim. I think they call them trim nails, actually. Poke through the fabric into the metal and then tap it in. And that keeps this tight. And then there's another one on the back here. I'm going to do the other side first. Sit like that. Get a little trim there. They give you an extra one of these, so it's fairly obvious. I think that people break them or lose them or whatever. There we go. Onto the back. Want one there. It really is. I don't know if it's any easier with cloth, but working with this vinyl, you're constantly sort of, well, I am anyway, I'm sort of paranoid now between having it taut but not over tight and sort of baggy in other places, if you get my drift. It's quite an art form. See, like, you can see this side stretched more because this little tag is like butting up against this. I might have to pull this keeper out and do this again, unfortunately. Correction, I lied to you again, sorry. It's not actually a trim nail that goes in this hole. It goes in, that one I got right, but then there's actually one here. The second one goes in here, it doesn't go in here. I just checked against the old cover, and that keeps it snug to the bottom of the base. So sorry about that, we're all human. So same principle applies, just a little hole, drill nail through said hole. He says. Make it slightly bigger. There we go. And then into the, that's a much better fit. It was kind of loose in the hole on the back, so apologies for that. Swing this round. Once again, there's the hole there. Pull that down just snug. This will actually probably also cure the problem I had with it butting up against that pin, because it won't matter quite as much. Trim pin in, there we go, bit of finger pressure, and then hopefully with some slight adjustment that will sort of come into, I don't think it is, but yeah, I don't know about that. I might get this finished and then I might give it a little, give the foam a bit of a squeeze and a bit of a massage and see if this starts to look a bit better, because if not, I'm going to have to take that off again. I don't know. What do you think? Comment. I'm eating my words yet again. With the new seat base cover, you actually do get 3 per side. The old cover only had 2 in it. This, you get 3. So, it's almost like I should have watched the instructional video, isn't it? But it does give me hope, because we're almost at the end. I'm not going to stress about this for now. I'm going to get both done. Again, I'm going to learn from what I've done with this one on the next one, and you should learn from my mistakes too. But for now, I'm going to get this trim pinned down, and then we've got to tie this off, put the bar in, and we'll see how it looks. So let's get another hole in this side. I bet you're bored of watching me put holes in vinyl. And I get that. As I say, I've never done this before, and hopefully we can all learn something. I know I'm learning plenty. Pull that down a bit. It's a bit wrinkly, you see. It's not. I'm not blown away by my trimming skills, and I'm sure you're not either. But I've already holed this side, as you'll be aware. So now it is looking a bit better. We've just got this little wrinkle here, you see, but that might go away when we tighten the string up. That trim's pulled out of there. Right, so now apparently what you do is you pull this tight. It's supposed to see, this is the issue. It's clashing with the pins, but yet again I stand corrected. I thought you pulled these 2 pieces of string together, tied them up, and then it like sucked everything together. But according to the Britpart instructions, you don't. You just tuck them in here and you ignore them, which is fine by me. So tuck them away, flip this bit over, and then we get our rod, which we removed from the old cover. Slide said rod through here. Like so, all the way across. Then making sure that and that protrude through. Put the rod over the 2 metal clips that we opened up when we started stripping it down, like so. Give it a little tap, taking care not to catch the vinyl. And the job's a good one. And actually, yeah, it's a bit pinched there, you see. I'm not blown away by that, but I'm going to learn for the next one. It's part of doing it, isn't it? If you don't have a go, you'll never learn. So, but actually, apart from this bit here, which is a bit loose looking, I'm not massively disappointed with that. I think it's probably okay. It's good enough for what I need it for. And I'll just be more careful when I'm putting that beading in on the other side to try and not pull the vinyl itself over, just to get it down far enough to get the the beading in. But yeah, there we go, one seat base. We need to do the back next, so see how that goes. We're back, and it's seat back time. So, first up, I've kept the seat attached to the rails. I've not taken the rails off, and apparently that helps when you're manoeuvring things around, because it gives you something to anchor so that the seat doesn't move too much. First of all, we've got this little lever end to take off and this plastic cover. So I'm going to carefully knock this off. I don't know if it's supposed to be two pieces, but it is now. Oh yeah, I think it's fine. Clips back together. There we go. Right. There's a single screw that holds this little cover on. Get that out. Oh, there's two screws actually. One there. And one here. As you can see, these frames are very old. And you can tell they're very old, A, because they look very old, and B, instead of having one bolt hole at the front and the back, they've got two. And that is a sign of an early seat frame, which it tallies up 1985 car, 1985 frame. So, oh, there's another one. Then that can come off. Have we got any goodies inside here? And there's some sort of clip, but that's it. No money. Sad. Right, so next up, I think what we do, like so, and we split this beading at the back here, which secures that back to the piece that comes underneath. Quite how you do that, I've yet to ascertain. Okay. Just get hold of the end. It's like a Ziploc bag, like a sandwich bag almost, all that part. And then hopefully should be able to start to roll this quite disgusting cover up the seat. Wow, this is crispy. Properly clean this frame up before we rebuild. It's not like the base, can't get away with just a little scrub. I don't think that's going to need some serious love and attention, possibly some paint as well. It's quite crispy. Right, let me get the seat back off. Right, so apparently there should have been a bar about halfway up on the back here, which goes across here. I don't know if this is because this is an early seat or whether it's just disintegrated and gone over the years, but I couldn't find one. I'm also finding this seat frame's actually pretty rusty, so I'm hoping it's not going to need any proper repairs. The last thing, of course, is you will have seen as I tried to roll the old cover up, it actually split all on one side, which has made it easier to get off, but not typical of stripping the seat down. So I think the next thing is to get the headrest off. As you can see, there's a fair bit of rust on this frame. It's pretty crispy. Hopefully we're not going to have to deal with any repairs, but that's how the headrest's held in. So you've got like this post that passes through a tube, and then there's little keepers either side which hold it locked in. And from what I've seen, you just tap it out with a hammer, but we'll see, 'cause it's obviously heavily corroded, so I might have to lubricate it and work it a bit. I made an executive decision and ended up tearing off the rest of this cover because it was getting in my way trying to get the headrest off. And it was split anyway, so I can see this is heavily corroded in here. I'm probably going to have to wire brush this and then squirt a load of penetrating oil on it and try and tap that headrest out because that needs recovering as well. So yeah, this is not your typical Defender seat, I don't think. This is far rustier, and I think I've actually found the remains of the rod that's supposed to hold the foam to the back still in its retainers, and then the rest of it's just gone. So we'll see how we get on. Now, I'm pretty sure when they say depress the clip and slide the headrest out, what they don't mean is get 2 pairs of mole grips on the stalk and then smash the seat frame around the garage with this hammer. But that's the only way I could get that headrest out. It's so heavily corroded in there. There's the socket. Doesn't look so bad now because it's all full of penetrating oil, but yeah, I'm not proud of myself, but you've got to do these things. What I think I'm actually going to do is order at least one new headrest, because the stalk is quite damaged now and quite rusty anyway. So I'm probably just going to replace these. I'll order 2 because no doubt the other one's going to put up a fight as well. But we are now left with a bare seat frame. So I'm going to scrub that up with a wire brush, possibly even treat it to a coat of paint, and then we'll get on with actually retrimming it after that bit of fun and games. Right, catch you in a bit. Hello, I'm back. It's a few days later. I've wire brushed this frame, giving it a few coats of satin black. So headrest aside, we're ready to continue. As I said, I may order a couple of new headrests, but I do have a spare seat which doesn't match these two. So I might try and salvage that and recover it. But for now, let's get this built up. The first step is to get the new foam, and we're going to put contact adhesive in the channel, contact adhesive on here, and bond this on, and then we can stretch the new cover over the top. And as you may remember, my little bar that went across here was completely disintegrated. So whilst I'm sure there is a proper Land Rover part number, I decided that a wire coat hanger would do the job, and I actually got 2 out of 1 coat hanger. So there's a little tip, and it's the right width. So yeah, without further ado, let's get spraying some glue around, get this bonded on. As you saw with the seat base, it's very important to make sure the foam is positioned correctly on the seat frame. If it isn't, then nothing else will look right. Spoiler alert, there's actually a lot more to recovering this seat than I first thought due to its age, but I won't ruin the surprise for you. You can see me struggling a bit more later on. But for now, introduce the 2 glued pieces together. Make sure the bars from the seat frame sit as deeply into the channels as possible, and that the frame also tucks into the recess at the back of the foam. Right, so after a little bit of a struggle, we've now got the foam bonded to the seat frame. I say it's a struggle, it's not. Well, it is, but you've got a lot of things to line up at one point. And what I didn't do was start at the top and work down, which I should have done, so that you can make sure that your corners up here are tight, like so. Now I've seen if you snip the corners off here and here, it helps the cover sit a little bit nicer, so I'm going to do that. And obviously make sure your headrest hole is lined up there. But it's on there, and actually when it's all compressed by the cover, it will look a lot neater anyway. So we'll yeah, we'll get on with that next. Okay, I'll admit to you, I have resorted to watching some tutorials on YouTube because the back of my seat looks very different to the ones they've done. Instead of having a soft diaphragm on the back, it's got this big metal plate, and the little holders for what would be cable ties are different, but I think the principle's probably the same. So here's a new cover. What I'm going to do, whether it's right or wrong, I'm not sure, is put my homemade bar through this loop, make 3 holes, as they recommend, in this piece here, put cable ties through, and the idea is this passes through that gap, so it's held tight to the back of the seat. So my plan is to use that rod to spread the load, put my 3 holes in, put cable ties through, and then attach them to these 3 loops, well, 2.5 loops because one's quite rusty, and see how we go. I may use bigger cable ties so that the head of the cable tie is what's anchoring it here, because as I say, I don't think these are very strong, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so as you can see, the size of cable tie I've used is massive overkill, but my theory is that these massive cable tie heads will take the load off the slightly rusty metal hooks, which I would rather not rely on. They have looped successfully through the fabric there, and my coat hanger bar is central and in place. So once I've pulled the fabric over the top, I'll just tighten the cable ties up. In fact, no, I'll do that first, and it should all be good. So my plan seems to have worked. As you can see, that bar is held nice and tight to the seat back with those 3 cable ties, and then the heads have butted up against the actual plate. So we're not relying on those thin bits of metal to hold it. You won't see them through the cover anyway, because, well, the cover will be tight across the back, and also it's a van body defender, so unless you've got the seat folded forward, that'll be invisible. So not perfect, but we're doing what we can. As you might be able to tell, I am struggling. I should have taken this off or got a bigger workbench, but obviously the seam around the outside is supposed to follow the line of the foam, and what I'm finding is the foam is squishing in, which means this seam doesn't line up. You can sort of manipulate the foam outwards so it does line up, but then you've got all this baggy bit in the middle which won't actually pull into what's there. That piece of foam at the beginning that I thought might have been packaging isn't. It does actually slide up here, but the gap is enormous, so I'm not really sure. I'm I'm probably going to continue to struggle and see how we go. The fit here is okay. The headrest hole does line up, but not a lot else does. But you've got to be super careful not to, like, you're supposed to really roll it with your hands like this to try and shape it, rather than pull the stitching, which I'm a bit worried about. I mean, it doesn't look too bad from there, but that's the side you're never going to see. So yeah, I'm struggling. I'm not going to lie. I was told that the seat back was the easy bit. I don't know if I believe that. I'll carry on. Update. After a long wrestle, I have noticed that, as you can see, I've peeled the cover back off. This foam should sit flush with this back, and it doesn't. The bar is fully home in there. It cannot go into the foam any deeper. But no matter what I do, there is no way that foam is going to squish enough to bring this line here flush with the edge of this. So I'm wondering, given that this is different, if these earlier seats had different foams. This is the old foam there. I know it's, you know, really old, but it has a much rounder edge here. I don't know if that's just because that's a fresh one and this isn't. I'm just one, because that looks like a much deeper valley for that bar to sit in than this one has. So I'm wondering if these seat foams are different, and that's why I'm struggling to get a cover on. I'm back again. Day 3 of trying to recover the seats, but there's been a development. So, as you will have seen at the end of the last video, I was looking at the channels in which these bars sit in. And what I've done is basically, I've made them deeper. Not very neatly. I'll do a much neater job on the other seat, but as you can see, what it does mean is that the back of the seat foam does actually now sit flush with this bar. Okay, so I've secured the cover with that wire piece back to the seat back, and you can see that when it's in position, the foam is a lot closer to running completely parallel with the bottom of this, which is how it should look. So now I'm going to flip the cover back over, pull it down and see if it looks a bit closer. Here's where I'm at. So, you may remember that bar that I cable tied across the back to pull the top of the cover in. Well, I think that's what was causing me the problems, because on an early seat like this, you have a steel panel, as I've already pointed out. On a later seat, that's a diaphragm which can move in and out. It has flexibility. This has no flexibility. So when you tie that piece of wire to here, it pulls it in so tightly that it gives you a lot of bagginess here, but also no flexibility to move the cover around. What I've done for now is not secure this to the back at the moment. I'm going to see how it goes like that, because at the end of the day, the previous cover wasn't attached because the rod had completely rotten away and the seats still looked right. What I'm doing at the moment is just manipulating the cover into place, making sure all the stitching lines up with the edges. It's not perfect yet, but it's a lot closer than it was, so I'm just keep feeding my hand up and moving the foam around to line up with that bead of stitching. Like, that's where it should sit, as you can see, right on the edge of the bolster. Got a bit of work to do. And then the foam piece, which I thought might have been packaging at the beginning, isn't. It actually fits behind here, and then you snap the two edges of the cover together underneath, which holds it all in place. So wish me luck. I'm going to continue on. Hopefully the next time you see me, this will all be back together and the saga will be complete. Yes. Okay, so let's see what we've done. Okay, still not brilliant if I'm honest. That's pretty annoying actually. So before, this was baggy here and tight here. Now it pulls in at the top, but it's sort of, I don't know. Using some spray on the foam has made it a lot easier to get the cover to sit nicely, but I'm really not happy with how this sort of like bulges out and is all loose here. I don't understand why it's done that. The foam padding is in the right place. The blue foam we put in is correct. It's clipped in. It follows the frame as well as I can get it to. So that's a bit frustrating. I'm a bit annoyed about that. I don't know what else I can do though, so we might have to just see what it looks like with the facing. It doesn't look as bad with the base, admittedly, but yeah. Look at that. That's pretty annoying. It might wear in, I don't know. Headrest next. All right, so onto our headrest. As you will have seen earlier in the video, I had to put mole grips on this and beat it with a hammer to get it out of that rotten frame. So I'm not sure I'm going to use this one. I have got another seat, which I might rob the headrest out of, just so we've got a nicer starting point, because I'll be able to sort that out, but it will never look 100%. So I might see if I can get that other headrest out, and then we'll start with that one instead. As a little side note to my seat, what should we call it? Journey? Anyway, this is another early seat, as you can see. This is actually in quite a rare material, apparently, called brushwood. Obviously the foam's had it, but the headrest is lovely, look. It's got a nice non-rusty stalk. So, but anyway, as I was saying, instead of being held together with like a plastic beading, this one's actually hooked into metal tangs on the seat frame. So this one's different again. But what makes this odd is that although this appears to be an even earlier seat than what I'm dealing with, it's only got single mounting points as opposed to the double ones. So yeah, just shows how much Land Rover was swapping and changing stuff at that time period. Okay, so that seat headrest came out very easily. As you can see, it's only got minor corrosion on there, as opposed to this one, which is corroded, scratched and battered where I removed it. Incidentally, this seat frame, although it has the wrong runners on it for my 110, the actual seat back is perfect, like really, really nice condition. So I think I'm going to use this frame for the other side rather than rub back and paint the original. As you can see, it's got the little holders for the rod along the bottom, but I can always flatten them down and just use the Britpart plastic beading. So yes. Oh, by the way, if anyone needs any brushwood covers, they're not perfect obviously, but I'm not going to use them, so you can have them. Comment and PM me your address or whatever, and I'll send them to you. that's in lovely condition. Right, so I've just been through with some pliers and a pick and removed all the little staples from this piece of wood. As you can see, the piece of wood's pretty narrow, so we're going to have to be accurate when we're stapling the new one on. But it doesn't matter what it looks like because it gets covered up with that finishing plate. So let's get the new headrest cover, see what we can do. Right, so the headrest is stripped, we've got the new cover. Let's put the two together and see what it looks like. I'm going to leave this piece of plastic on here because I'm sure it's there for a reason. Okay. Doesn't matter too much that it looks a bit loose in places because we can pull it tight and staple this down. So let's do that and get the finisher back on. Right, for a staple gun, I didn't actually have one, so I went to Screwfix, and this was about £12, I think. And then some staples. I went for 10mm wide by 8mm deep, which is far bigger than what came out of here, but I'm hoping they'll do the job. So we can trim the excess. Okay, there we go. Right. So it's a bit tricky to aim it up, tighten it, line it up with the wooden part, but once you sort of pull it into place and stretch it, I think we'll be able to cut off this excess before we put the finisher on. You can sort of feel the recess in the channel where the staples need to go, so pretty good. There we go. There's another one. Yeah, it's not too bad. And we'll pull all this tight to get rid of these wrinkles, carry on going. All right, little update. What I've done is trim that much material off the bottom of the headrest covering, because what I was finding was there was too much and it would bunch up, and there was no way that the finisher plate was going to go over it all, because it was all layered, which has helped a lot. So you need to stretch it quite tightly to get it to cover and sort of meet up with the wooden bit, but that's what you're after. So once that's all in place, we can staple it back on. I think the best way of doing it is to do the sides like that, as if you're wrapping a present, and then do one edge like that, and then the other edge, pull it really nice and tight so that it's all snug and you don't have any wrinkles, or as few wrinkles as possible, and then staple it down. Inevitably, that will cover a lot, but not everything, so it is what it is, as they say. Okay, here's the finished product. Pull the vinyl tight, staple it in place, and then put the trim back on. Another fun fact, this headrest, which is the donor one that I use and recovered, is different to the original. And it's different to the original because the stalk on the original is at the front of the headrest, and the stalk on the new one is at the back, which means on the new one, this plate faces that way, and on this one, it faces the other way, I think. Yeah, unless that's really bent, which is possible. Yeah, I'm not over the moon with how this has come out. As you can see, it's very wrinkly, but at least it will match the rest of the seat. Yeah, that headrest is actually a visibly different size, so I wonder if that might be a replacement. Let's fit into the seat and see how it looks. So here's the seat complete. To be fair, once it's together, I'll give it a wipe off to get the dust off. It doesn't look that bad. Hopefully some of the bagginess will fix itself over time. But for a first effort, I'm not, mega disappointed. I've learned a lot doing this, and I will use the skills that I have learned, or, to do the other side, which will hopefully come out a little bit better, but we'll see. At the end of the day, you've just got to have a go at these things, and it's still a ton better than what we started with. So yeah, not perfect, but a lot better. Well, there we go, job done. Back in the Land Rover, and actually, after a bit of use, the vinyl has found its shape, and they look a ton better than they did when they were fresh on the bench. The headrests are different. Unless you're looking for it, you can't tell. I'm happy enough with this. I'm probably going to look for a third one to put in the middle as well, just to finish it off. But yeah, I am pleased with how these turned out, even though it was a bit of a struggle. Just goes to show, you can't turn your hand to everything and have a success the first time. But anyway, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out the rest of the LRM YouTube videos on our channel. See you later.